And what about when there's a bit of a storm brewing on projects? So is it kind of the same bag of tricks as what we have over here? You know, do you have a lot of regulation like we have in Queensland with the QBCC, or adjudication? You know, what are the kind of tools that you have in your basket over there that you can use to help clients with the resolution of disputes? Is it very different to here?
It is. It's slightly different. So we don't have the adjudication system to fall back on. So payment here is often a bit of an issue. So typically payment terms will get delayed. So in terms of dispute resolution mechanisms that we've got the local courts. We've got arbitration would be the other main component. So we do a lot of work, a lot of arbitration work. And then the third component would be the DAFC courts. So Dubai has set up a financial centre with a common law courts system similar to the TCC courts in the UK. So it's a slightly different system, and it's common law based, which is different to everything else that operates out here. In terms of how the local courts will operate, first thing to note is we're actually a civil law jurisdiction. So it's different to Australia in that we don't have binding precedent. So while decisions of the higher courts might be persuasive, they're not actually binding. So you can get an understanding of where the decision might go. And we've got a fairly good handle on typically how the courts will look at certain aspects and how they'll determine those. But what will happen is there's always that uncertainty. So you're never quite sure. And when you refer something to the courts, if it's a large construction dispute, typically what the courts will do is if it requires expert evidence, they'll actually refer that to an expert, a court-appointed expert to look at. And that expert typically won't be someone as highly paid or as experienced and qualified as an expert that you would refer to at arbitration. And their fees are actually capped. So unfortunately, they don't have the ability to look through really substantive submissions. And the timeframes in which they're operating are quite short. So it's often the case that you don't get a decision from the expert which is as well reasoned as you might like. So there are some items that might be either sort of very sort of just glanced over rather than really thoroughly explored.
Sounds a lot like adjudication to me, mate.
Yeah, fast and dirty. I mean, that's sort of the analogy, I guess. But I mean, that's the risk you take with local courts. It's going to be a bit quicker. It's going to be a bit cheaper, likely than arbitration. But you also then don't have the finality of the decision because you've got to go through the various levels of appeal as well.
Is there a different jurisdiction, different lists, or is it just the one?
Yeah, it's just the one list, and then there's experts that'll be referred to certain works. But I mean, one example we had was there was a facade issue on a building that we were dealing with, and that got referred to a landscape architect expert. So oftentimes you don't often see the cases referred to the best experts in the field, but you get a decision and you can sort of take that forward. What the main form of dispute resolution out here is arbitration, and that's what we do a lot of work on.
Do you expect any change in that coming out of the COVID period? So
the two big changes would be in terms of local courts. The courts were actually closed for a period. So they were closed for about a month and a half. I think they're reopening. They reopened late April, but I think cases were pushed back again. In terms of arbitration, the main issue that we're running into, and maybe it's an issue, maybe it's not, is where a jurisdiction clause will say, it's seated in this location, and people aren't able to travel. So you can pushing for electronic hearings and the like, but that's subject to dispute a lot of times, especially where you're looking to sort of push it down the road.